Hey guys, how's it going? It's Target here. Welcome back to a new episode of Target Talks. Obviously, it's been a long time since we've done one of these, and really, I haven't done too many videos. I just did an EASHL review video. That one is out already, so go ahead and have a look at this one, or that one, pardon me. But in this one, I wanted to kind of cover what has been going on in the last, I basically, like 3 weeks, maybe more than that. Just because everybody's been wondering, where are you, Target, what's going on, and sort of a way to get back into the swing of things. I thought maybe a Target Talks would be a good way to get everything on the table, and I took a few questions on Twitter and Facebook. For those of you that aren't on either of those social media sites, which is pretty much like nobody at this point, you're either on one or the other, or both. So if you don't have it, or you're not on there, get on there right now. Follow me at TargetAud18, and then on Facebook, it's just Target Audience 18. Both of those forums are fantastic for getting in touch with me. I try to keep it as interactive as possible. If they're Target Talks questions, if I don't respond to it or don't favorite it or anything like that, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm not going to answer that question in the next Target Talks video. It also doesn't mean that I haven't seen it. So usually I read almost every single tweet, every single message I get on Facebook, almost all the comments I get on YouTube. I read almost every single one of them. So let's get into things first. Before we start doing some questions, I'm going to tell you what has happened over the last little bit. So obviously, for those of you that have been keeping up with what I've been doing, my wife was pregnant. We found out she's pregnant in October. We told our family in December. Actually, on Christmas Eve, we told everybody, so it was kind of a nice gift for everyone. Down the line, things have been getting crazier and crazier. Anybody that's become a father or a parent or anything like that would understand that how crazy it gets. Like, there's so much you have to do between then and now. Appointments, there were complications, things like that we had to go. I think we had basically 2 or 3 appointments a week, and minimum towards the end anyway. And so I wanted to be there for those appointments as much as possible. Didn't want my wife to be going by herself, because there's some questions she may not think to ask. There's questions that I may not think to ask, and that she forgets to tell me about later, things like that. So it's nice to be involved in the entire process, to the ultrasound, seeing your child for the first time. It's an unbelievable feeling. Hearing the heartbeat for the first time, it's an unbelievable feeling. So I wanted to be there for all of those, and unfortunately, if there is an unfortunate part about that, is the YouTube side of things has kind of been put to the side for now, just when I deal with this. And you know what? It's been great. For the times that I have mentioned the stuff that I'm dealing with in my personal life, you know, especially having a family now, you guys have been very supportive. You said, go deal with family. It's the most important thing, and I totally appreciate that, because that's something that I constantly preach in my videos too, especially when I put out ones close to the holidays, is, you know, focus on your family here. Put down your cell phone, put down your iPad, focus on your family, talk to each other. Not everybody needs to have their heads buried in their devices all the time. All right? If you're going to do something, you know what, you watch Target videos as a family. That's the main thing, right? So, anyway, July 20th, my wife's due date was July 25th. And she never actually got to that date. That wasn't going to happen. Due to complications, they wanted to induce her early. Now, for those of you that don't know what induction is, it's basically forcing the body to go into labor, is what that is. And so, July 20th, I finished off a night shift in that morning, so I worked the 19th into the 20th. I came home. I finished off at 6 in the morning, so I came home. My wife had gotten the call from the hospital. You're supposed to come in at 8 a.m. So 2 hours now. I've already been up for a total of about 15 hours by the time that they called me in, or called us in. So we got to the hospital 8:06 or something like that. Checked in, went straight upstairs. They're very friendly. Everybody was very helpful. Got Brooke into her. My wife is Brooke. Got her into the room, and then, you know, we waited for the doctor to decide how they wanted to induce her. There's a couple different methods that they can do. There's one that's an IV. It's just medicine. It's oxytocin is what the drug is called. It's actually a naturally occurring chemical within your body. It's one of the chemicals that's released when you exercise. It's supposed to make you feel good, but apparently it also is involved in labor as well. Oxytocin is released when you're in labor. Or not released when you're in labor. I guess you're released when you're in labor. So if you can give the body oxytocin, then it automatically induces labor. It's a little bit crazy. The other one was like a balloon of sorts. They put this thing up inside you and then like inflate it, and that's supposed to actually trigger the labor. Different things. Anyway, so we waited on the doctor's call. I think it probably took about an hour and a half. I think it was probably about no. 10:30. So we'd been there about 2.5 hours by the time they decided that they were going to be doing the IV, the oxytocin. And so they started the oxytocin. They said, you're going to probably wait about 2 hours before you're going to even feel the effects of the oxytocin. And so we're like, okay, well, we'll just wait around. I think it was 30 minutes before my wife started going into labor. And that was contractions. We're talking contractions. So they were minor at first. You feel it. You're like, you know what? I think that's what it is. It felt like a cramp. And slowly but surely, it turns into a living hell. My poor wife, I felt so bad for her. There's only so much you can do as a husband or as the coach in those situations. That's just be there for them. And that's what I tried to do, is be there as much as I could. Give her water. Ask her if she was anything you needed. I probably asked a little bit too much. I mean, there's a time where it's like, no, I just want to deal with the pain. I don't want to have to listen to you all the time. Shut up. And I'm sure it was annoying at times, but I tried to be there as best I could. I know that she's appreciative of everything that I did that day. So anyway, we sat, I think we were dealing with it for about, I think it was probably about 5 or 6. No, yeah, somewhere in there, somewhere between 4 and 6. The hours kind of blend after a while. Between 4 and 6, that was when the epidural was given. My wife elected to have an epidural. She's no hero, and I got to give her props for that. And so they gave her the epidural, and almost immediately it helped. But the epidural process was not a pretty thing. So basically, we're waiting for the anesthesiologist. That's the guy that gives the epidural to come. We're waiting for him. We're just talking about things. And my wife is just, every 2 minutes or so, she's having a contraction for about 45 seconds. 30 to 45 seconds, somewhere in there. So they are coming a little bit more frequently. And so we don't get too much time to kind of laugh and joke as she's in a lot of pain. Praying for this epidural to come. Finally, he does come. Here in walks this old guy. He must have been in his 60s, I would say. Probably mid-60s is a fair number. Early to mid-60s, somewhere in there is a fair guesstimate on this guy's age. And this son of a bitch had a tremor. I kid you not. My mother-in-law actually said it looks like he had Parkinson's. And it's totally true. It totally looked like he had Parkinson's. This guy's going to be giving an epidural. Now, if anybody knows how an epidural works, it is literally a needle into the spine. Into the soft tissue between in the spine. And so, like, that's not really an area, an area where you're gonna want to be shaky. Things can happen. You nick the spine the wrong way, boom, you're paralyzed, just like that. So that was kind of scary seeing this guy come in shaking. But I was like, you know what? Maybe he's just angry, and he was. He was so pissed off. This guy. He took a phone call right before he's about to do the epidural, and he starts basically yelling at the other guy on the end of the line. I'm like, hey, how about you calm down a sec, you old grumpy bastard? Take a breath. You're about to give an epidural here to a woman that's clearly scared and not really ready for it, doesn't know what to expect. Your bedside manner could be a little bit better, So, he's yelling at the nurse to get over there and help him out, and she's like, okay, I'll help you, whatever. And then it's just insane. Anyway, so Shaky McGee here takes 4 attempts to get the epidural. 4 times he poked my wife in the spine. And my wife, Brooke, she said, feels like something's running down my back. Like, is it sweat? No, it's blood. The guy's making you bleed because he keeps stabbing you with this needle. Now, the needle, anybody just go Google what an epidural needle is. It's long. It's a long, flexible needle that they just shove in you. It's ridiculous. And so he probably went pretty deep with each one. And so every time you go that deep, you pull it out, it's going to bleed. It's going to bleed. And so she had blood trickling down her back. This guy was an absolute joke. And my mother-in-law actually complained about him because he said, he shouldn't be practicing. If that's the kind of shake that you're going to have while you're doing an epidural or a procedure, that's rather precarious, you shouldn't be in that job anymore. You should be forced to retire. This guy shouldn't be anywhere near it. Not to mention his bedside manner was absolute shit. Anyway, so he finally gets the epidural in on the 4th try. And gets my wife to lay on her side, and then they hook the medicine. They have to keep the medicine going. It's on a steady stream. They get this, it's like a spinal tap or whatever. They keep a hose over her shoulder that connects directly into her spine. They just keep this line in there, and then that connects to a pump, and the pump distributes the medicine and keeps it going. A trickle. Just very, very slowly. And he had 2 defective pumps. I thought this guy was going to go absolutely Hulk shit on the entire room after the second pump didn't work. He's just just pissed off that they all need maintenance. Anyway, so we finally get the working one, and he leaves, and he's just a total dick. But thankfully, it doesn't take long for the epidural to kick in. Within 30 minutes, you were feeling it. And my wife was out like a light. She slept. I mean, that's the only time you can really sleep, right? It's the only time is if you have an epidural and you're able to relax because your body doesn't feel the contractions. You don't feel the contractions. My wife said that for anybody that's had it, they know what it's like. But I obviously, being a man and never having to go through childbirth, did not know what, cannot know what an epidural is like unless I actually go and get one. And I'm way less likely to have it as a man, is what I'm trying to get at there. But she said that she couldn't feel anything, like touching the skin, no, but you can feel the pressure. Like, that's all you can feel is the pressure. Just, if somebody's pushing on your leg, you can feel it. But you can't feel like a touch on the skin. It's numb that way. So that was kind of interesting. So she slept a lot. I tried to sleep. I think I slept about an hour. I didn't get much because I was pretty tired. I mean, this is like 5 o'clock now, right? 4 or 5 o'clock. And I haven't slept since, we're over 24 hours now since I've slept. Anyway, so they've got these pads that they hook up on her stomach that keep track of heart rate of baby. Heart rate, and also there's one that's for contractions. And the contractions one wasn't working very well. They weren't able to actually keep track of the contractions. It just was a little bit glitchy for whatever reason. And so they're just kind of watching baby's heart rate, and they're still giving her the oxytocin here because they still want to induce the labor. Obviously, labor is going, but you keep it going pretty much right until you're ready to deliver. So we're waiting. We don't know, and the doctors come in and they're taking a look at the charts, and they're seeing that every time every time a contraction goes, my child's heart rate is dropping just a bit by bit. It's not like boom, plummets. It's just bit by bit, gradual. The strength is not there anymore. And apparently this is a side effect of the oxytocin. When you have too much oxytocin, or your body isn't as strong and can't handle oxytocin as well, it affects baby. And so the doctor came in and said, look, this is what's happening. We definitely recommend a C-section. And my wife was freaking out at this point. And I had to step out of the room at that point, I think. And so I wasn't there to catch that part. So she was freaking out, right? Because obviously I'm not there, and I need to be part of this. And understandably so, right? Understandably so. So I'm waiting, or she's waiting for me to come back. Finally she does. Or finally I do, pardon me. And she tells me what's going on and how they want to do, they want to do a C-section. And so we asked the doctor if we could, kind of have maybe a little bit of time to see what happens, an hour, maybe, 45 minutes to an hour, just to see if there's any improvement. If not, then we'll do the C-section. Then the that was the nurse we were talking to, and they seemed fine. They were going to relay that onto the doctor because it seemed like the doctor was definitely going to allow it. Then the doctor comes in and says, no, you know what? We definitely recommend the C-section. At this point, there's just too much of a risk involved. We think that it's best for you, best for baby, to go in and do the C-section. Oh, all right. So we had set up our little space here in the room, in the hospital room, and we now had to move all our bags to another room where she would be going after the procedure, after the C-section, the cesarean section. And so while I was moving everything, they actually ended up bringing my wife into the OR, and I kind of figured that was going to happen. They had kind of said that. They said, you know what, we'll do that, and then you meet out just outside the OR and we'll bring you in when you're ready. Here's some. They had to give me an outfit. I had to wear scrubs, little booties to cover my shoes, and a mask. And so they said, well, just wait outside the OR and we'll bring you in. They didn't tell my wife that, apparently. So basically they wheeled her off when I was gone moving all our stuff, and her mother-in-law had just gone out for a smoke just so she could get it done. And what else happened? So anyway, I moved all the stuff, and I know what's happening. I go back to the spot where I'm supposed to wait, just outside the OR, and, just chill there until they're ready for me. So they bring me in, finally, and they sit me actually out in the hallway. So basically there's the main hallway, then there's the OR area, and they sit me in a hallway in the OR area, and then there's the actual operating rooms. There's a couple little studios that they have in there. And so I'm sitting outside of that. My wife is in the OR. They're prepping everything. But for her, in her mind, she thinks, oh, God, where's Phil? Where's my husband? Where's my husband? He's supposed to be here. Has anybody told him? Because he was gone moving stuff when I was moved into the OR. So she's panicking now, right? Finally, they call me, and I'm starting to freak out, right? Like, a C-section is still major surgery. It's still major surgery. And so I'm sitting there, like, panicking a little bit. I was a little bit nervous. I wasn't panicking. I shouldn't say panicking. I was nervous. Like, this is a big thing. Like, there was the possibility, basically, that I lose both of them or one of them, either of which are tragic. And so that was kind of what was playing through my head as I waited. And so it was kind of scary. And then finally they opened the door. I said, come on. And I'm like, okay, thank God, we're ready to go. And they've got her tarped up. I really didn't look at anything. I wanted to give her the privacy. She's very, she doesn't want me to see things like that. And I totally understand. I respect that. And so I came in, I just kind of looked at the tarp that she was behind, and I walked behind it. Like, here, you can sit in this chair, bring your camera, and you can sit down, just relax. And so I sit down there next to her, and they've got me propped in this little tiny stool, tucked away in this tiny corner, just kind of chilling there. There's like cords all around me, machines all around making noise, and I'm just jammed in there. And there's my wife, and she's spread out. She's spread out like crucifixion style, like she's on the cross, arms straight out to the sides, and her legs are straight down. And we can't see anything that's going on behind this tarp. And so we're just sitting there. And they asked if we're ready to. I think they asked if we're ready to go. Really, it's all a blur at this point. Asked if we're ready to go. Sitting there. Finally, they're going. All right. And it wasn't a short procedure. Like, I think that it was probably about 30 minutes. 30 minutes. Anyway, so the procedure's going on, and I kind of catch out of like the corner of my eye, like, I don't know what it was. I really don't know what it was. But I see a nurse interacting with the doctor, our doctor, and then the nurse runs out crying. And in my mind, I was like, oh, God. It sounded like she was dismissed from the OR. That's what it sounded like. I didn't see this woman come in. I just saw her leave. And she's crying. And I thought that perhaps it was something wrong with my son. That's what I thought it was. And I started freaking out. Like, the emotions of it, you won't know until you get there. But the emotions of it hit me all at once. Like, I started crying. I was freaking out. Didn't know what to do. And my wife is laying there completely knocked out. She's numb from, like, the chest down. Or nipples down, as she said it. And she's basically coaching me. It's okay, honey. You'll be okay. It's kind of a total role reversal from labor into the actual delivery. And I'm the one that's freaking out. Anyway, so there's a lot of tugging. My wife is, like, moving around. She's, like, being pulled by her insides, basically. And she's, like, kind of telling me what's going on because she can feel the pressure. She's like, okay, I think they're pulling him out now. I'm like, okay, good. Should he be out now? Should he be out? Or is it going to be longer? Just the questions running through my head. I'm going crazy with it because I don't know, and you can't see. And I haven't heard him cry yet, so I don't know. Finally, they pull him out, and I can hear him cry, and it was one of the most amazing sounds ever. I mean, it was a little ridiculous. The guy was gurgling on blood and fluids and stuff like that. So I can't even describe it. I can't remember how we described it anymore. But it was funny, and at the same time really emotional, and all the emotions of that anxiety just completely rushed forward for me, and I was just like a huge relief, an absolute huge relief for me when that happened. And so they kind of took him over to a table. I didn't see him at this point. They took him over to a table, they sat him down, they cleaned him up a little bit, and then they came around and said, Dad, do you want to come over and see baby? And I was like, absolutely, let's go over and see this little bastard. So they take me around to the table where he is, and there he is, absolutely gorgeous. You know what, they'd cleaned him up pretty much, like almost all the blood was gone off of him because they're covered in blood when they come out. He had a little bit of a white film on them, which is totally normal. He's absolutely gorgeous. His head, and they had predicted this too, his head was kind of cone-shaped. They think that what happened was his head got stuck inside of her, and so that's why he wasn't delivered properly. That's why the labor was so difficult, was because he got stuck. And they didn't know that, though. He got stuck in the edge. His cone head actually got jammed in a corner is basically what happened. And so I saw him, and he was absolutely beautiful, his little cone head and everything. And he weighed 7 pounds, 15 ounces. He was absolutely gorgeous. I was so happy. I got to cut the umbilical cord, which is really weird. I mean, my wife told me, like, when he comes out, you're going to be cutting the umbilical cord. And I was like, okay, got to step up and, be a man, be the dad, and do the man thing, which is, I guess, cutting things. I don't know. So I cut this umbilical cord. It took two good cuts because it kind of squirms. The nurses are holding it for me. It kind of it's not like it wiggles around on its own like a dead fish. It's just it gives, right? Because it's tissue. And so I give it good 2 cuts, and boom, it's done. And I've done 20 minutes just talking about this entire process. I mean, like, we lived it for a day. So this is going to be a longer Target Talks, I think. So anyway, I cut the umbilical cord, and they let me take some photos. They took photos of me cutting the umbilical cord, and they took a photo of me with my son. And and then they wrapped him up. They swaddled him for me, and because I've never swaddled a baby, thank goodness. And so they gave him to me. Actually, they said, "Do you want to hold? Do you want to?" I can't. No, they didn't give him to me at that. No, did they? I can't remember. Anyway, I ended up with baby, with him sitting in my arms, and in front of my wife on my little stool again, waiting. And here we are sitting, and my wife can see our son. And it was just a great moment for all three of us. The nurse actually took all three of our photos while we're sitting there with Brooke still being operated on, right? They're closing her up now is what's going on. So they're closing her up and we're sitting there. And you know, my wife is shaking now. She's vibrating. And what it was the adrenaline. She had adrenaline running through her because that's one of the things that they give you during the procedure is adrenaline, just to keep things going, keeping you alert. So the adrenaline, she's actually shaking, she's shivering. People thought she was tired, but it's just a reaction to the medication. It's just the way it works. And so we're sitting there with my son, and I'm just looking at him, and he's not crying. He cried a little bit, but he was doing pretty good. And we were talking to him, and I'm trying to get him used to my voice and stuff. And he's, oh my god, so cute. So anyway, finally the procedure is done, and it took a while. I think the entire thing probably took, from the time she went in, probably about an hour. Is the entire process is about an hour. They took baby back from me. They went and, what did they do? They did something else. Can't remember. They did something else with him, and then they brought him back to mom after we had been. I had been excused from the OR, left without my son. I took him, and I didn't get to take him. They had him, and so I went and sat in one of the OR recovery rooms. I'm waiting there, and they wheel my wife in with my son, and they started getting him breastfeeding and stuff, and she's doing well. He's doing well. He latches on right away, so it's great. We're all very happy. Because she had a C-section, she ended up spending a couple days in the hospital. We were there that was Monday morning, and so Monday, Tuesday, we were gone Wednesday at about 11 in the morning, and I'll tell you, we couldn't wait to get out of there. It was awful. Absolutely awful. It was nice that the hospital had, beds that pulled out. But you are up every hour to 2 to 3 hours, somewhere in that range. You're lucky if you get 3 hours of sleep, because there's a nurse coming in, checking my wife's blood pressure, checking baby, making him cry again. You got to feed him. So that was tough. Like, it was so hard. And I was so sleep deprived already. At some point, I was like, I just want to go home. I'm so stressed out. I just want to go home. And that's just what it was. It was just exhaustion, pure and utter exhaustion. And so we finally got to go. My wife, they wanted to keep her till Thursday, and my wife's like, no, we're getting the fuck out of here. This is ridiculous. Let's go home. And so she said to the doctor, I'm feeling great. I'm feeling really good. She was walking around already, which is good. All her systems were working again. Her blood pressure was coming back to normal. Things like that, right? So it was all getting better. And so they're like, yeah, you know what? I don't see any reason. Baby's fine. You're fine. I don't see any reason why you guys can't go home. And so we went home. And I'll tell you right now, that was probably the best thing that could have happened for us. Now, we're kind of starting getting into a routine. It's been a little bit crazy. It's tough. He does cry a lot. He doesn't cry a lot, I should say, but he wakes up a lot. It's getting better, though. We're about every 3 hours or so, he needs to be fed. And so it is tough at nights, but that's only, if you go to bed and you sleep 8 hours, that's only 2 feedings a night. But, you got to change a diaper here and there, things like that. That doesn't take much time. And you know what? The diaper changing is not even that bad. It really is not that bad. I had him circumcised. That's something that my wife's like, that's your decision. You decide to do it. Had to pay money for that. Got him circumcised. That actually we just finished with a couple days ago. He doesn't. It's well healed. We had to actually take Vaseline and put it on around it, and then you had to fill a gauze with Vaseline, tons of Vaseline, and protect it. And so that had to be done every time you changed the bloody diaper. It was crazy. So it's nice to have that done. At least we're a week past the procedure, and so you don't have to do we still have to do a little bit of Vaseline, but you don't have to do all of it on the gauze. So that's nice. But anyway, he's totally happy. He's happy to be here. We're happy to have him. We've gone out to dinner. I think we went out for dinner. We went out for breakfast with him, and he was totally fine. Totally fine. Went to Swiss Chalet and IHOP. That's where we brought him so far in terms of restaurants. We went to Subway. Went to a burrito place. He's been shopping. We've gone to Costco with him, Walmart, Toys R Us. We had to bring him to Toys R Us. So he's been out and about, and we're trying to live a normal life. That's what we're doing right now, and we're having a lot of fun. And it's just fun being parents. And it's true that you do fall in love with these little guys, these little buggers right off the bat. It's true. You don't have any feelings for it until you actually get to be in that position. And I couldn't be happier to be in that position right now. So, anyway, that's kind of the whole process. We will get to some Target Talks question here. This is a long one, but we will get to some Target Talks questions. Let's start with Twitter. Ryan Perry says, what kind of car do you have? Well, I actually have two vehicles. One that I bought back when I was in college. I bought a brand new 2007 Honda Civic. Brand new at the time. It was actually 2008 when I bought it, and so but it had never been driven, and so I still have that vehicle now. I've only got 50,000 K on it, 55,000 K on it in 7 years. I've owned that vehicle, and it's a great car. Absolutely love the Honda Civic. I'm nothing flashy. I don't have any crazy fancy cars. And then I've got also a Chevy Avalanche. I got a white Chevy Avalanche, which I use pretty much all the time now. It's what I move my son around in all the time because it's got AC. I don't have AC in my Civic. And it's a better ride. It's better for the winter, things like that. So I drive that around mostly. And then when I'm just commuting, just myself now at this point, that'll be to and from work. And during the summer, it'll be the Civic. So it doesn't get many miles. That's why it's so low. But it's a great car. I've had too many problems with either of those. The truck is a little bit older. It's 2002. I bought it used, but I needed a truck. And so I love that truck too. It's a fantastic vehicle. So those are the two vehicles I have. The next question on Twitter comes from Max Dion, Fardoch, at Max Dion1. Do you have more faith with the Edmonton Oilers going into the next season? Will they be competitive enough? This is a question that everybody's been asking, obviously, with the Edmonton Oilers. Now that they have Connor McDavid, you got Todd McClellan, Peter Chiarelli. Absolutely, the Oilers. I have way more faith in the Edmonton Oilers going into next season. Now, for the Oilers fan, the most exciting time is the offseason because you never know what's going to happen. I mean, I say that all the time. That one in the draft, you never know what's going to happen. The cup is completely full. You have all this optimism. You don't know what's going to happen. There's that factor. And so it is exciting. And especially this year, I think that they will be competitive enough to be at least, maybe not make the playoffs, but at least compete maybe at the end. That's all I want is a little bit. I want those games in March and April to mean something. If it comes down to the wire and we lose the last game and we're out, I don't care. It's good things. That's good progress. And then the next offseason, we can build on that. But I do feel that they will be competitive enough to be in the mix. Doesn't mean that they're competitive enough to make the playoffs or even win the Stanley Cup. But they are competitive enough to be in the mix. So, yes, I'm excited as an Oilers fan for the next season. My son is excited for next season, even though he doesn't know it. He's been told he likes hockey. So, anyway, next questions actually come on Facebook. We got a few of them here. Remember, don't forget to get me on Facebook and on Twitter. He says, this one comes from Isaiah McCoy. He says, whom would you like to see in the NHL Winter Classic this coming year? Honest to goodness, I would like to see no Winter Classic. I hate the Winter Classics. I think they're absolutely ridiculous. It's just a money grab for the NHL. That's all it is. I never watch them. I think they're stupid. Like, it's the novelty wore off a long time ago. And so I don't really see any need to do it every single year. I think that every 5 years might be nice, but to be honest, I don't think that they're going to just because of the money grab. So who would I like to see in the NHL Winter Classic this coming year? Nobody. Mainly because they use the same teams all the time. Washington, Pittsburgh, Chicago, Detroit. You name it, they all do the Winter Classic over and over and over and over and over again. That's boring. Come on. Like the Canadian teams that are involved in the Winter Classic. We're talking about the Winter Classic. The Toronto Maple Leafs. That is it. Or maybe Montreal too. Montreal might have been too. But that's it. That's it. That's all. You got, it's stupid. It's absolutely a joke. You got to change it up. There's teams that have never been in a Winter Classic before. But anyway, it's dumb. I think they should just abandon the Winter Classic and do, a single outdoor game every 3 to 5 years. Not 10 games, stadium series, every year. It's stupid. All right. Next question comes from Trey John William George. He has two questions. He says, one, if/when McDavid stays, who he play with on a line? Who will he play with on a line? And two, which is better, that line or Monahan, Gaudreau, Bennett? Oh my goodness, or Bennett. So let's do the question number one. When McDavid, it's when, it's not an if, McDavid stays, who will he play on a line with? All right, so I think that, in my opinion, I'd put him with Taylor Hall. I'd put Nugent Hopkins with Eberle, and I'd put Taylor Hall with McDavid. That's where they're going to score the most goals. McDavid feeding the best scorer on the team, that's unbelievable. You could also put Nuge with Hall. You could also put, and then Eberle with McDavid. But I think that McDavid, Hall, and Yakupov would be a sweet lineup. Obviously, nobody there's really defensive, so you might go with an Eberle instead. And that's where I would see it, maybe Pouliot, Eberle, and McDavid, and then Hall, Nugent Hopkins, and Yakupov. That would be a decent line as well. Either of those would be okay. And then which is better than that, Monahan, Gaudreau, or Bennett? I hate to say it, but I think that Calgary's going to pull a Colorado Avalanche, and they're not going to do as well this year. Definitely not make the playoffs. Last year, I never guessed them to make the playoffs anyway, but I just don't see them having the staying power. They've done some good things. They've got some really good defense, but I just don't see them having the staying power. So I'm going to go ahead and say whatever line McDavid is on is absolutely going to destroy Monahan, Gaudreau, Bennett. It's just the way I feel. And the final question for Target Talks comes from my buddy Jordan Cogan on Facebook. He says, how does it feel to be a dad? And I think I went over it a couple times here, and it's been absolutely amazing. I'll tell you, absolutely amazing to be a father. I couldn't be any prouder of my son, couldn't be any prouder of my wife, and it's just very exciting right now to do this, to go on this adventure. And so, I mean, there's a lot changing in my life. I actually sold my house. I've bought a new one. We're going to be moving at some point here very shortly, and so there's a lot of changes going on right now. It's absolutely exciting. Tons of stuff going on. I'm sure I'll keep you guys updated on all my adventures and try to share some photos of that kind of stuff too. I actually posted a picture of my new backyard on Twitter at one point. So yeah, that's where you go if you want to keep up with things. Facebook, Twitter, guys. Facebook is Target Audience 18. Twitter is at TargetAud18. Make sure you use the hashtag TargetTalks if you want to submit a question. Hopefully we'll have more great content coming up here from the EASHL beta, also from NHL 15, and more Target Talks, things like that. Okay, guys? Make sure you go out there, like those pages, follow me. We got to build this. I know I haven't been working as hard as I could, or as I have been in the past, to help build my content, but at the same time, I need your guys' help to the same degree. So I'll leave it there. We went on long enough. Thanks for watching this episode, guys. If you have any questions, by all means, you can also leave them in the comment section below. Until next time, I'm Target Audience, and I'll catch you guys out on the ice.